The conversation around Nico, Tennessee, and it sounds something like Nico Iamaleava winning the Heisman. Nico Iamaleava leading Tennessee to the college football playoff. Nico to the national championship, all those things. And there's a lot of excitement around him for a reason. There should be. Want to know why? Because he's the number one recruit in the class of 2023. Not quarterback, recruit, player, overall, period. Charles Power, he don't miss. Director of scouting and ranks for us here. If he says Nico can spin it, he can spin it. So you have that, and then you go ahead and pair that with what he did in that bowl game last year against one of the best defenses in college football in Iowa. If you were trying to temper expectations, that bowl game did you no favors. But when we look at the future for Tennessee, and we look at the narrative around Tennessee, the narrative is get on Nico's back, he'll take you to the promised land. I understand the excitement, but what I would be careful to do is not put all the chips and not put all the pressure and expectation on number 8. I'm not saying he can't handle it, but I'm saying in college football, typically, if a team goes on and wins the conference or they go on and win the national championship, it is very, very rare for us to see a team just get jansported by one player. I mean, Cam Newton's probably the closest thing to that. Even he had Nick Fairley. Even he had other pieces around him to help him, but he's probably the most recent example of something similar to that. Joe Burrow, you think about him, he had two first round wide receivers, and I think he had a first-round running back. Like, it takes a little bit more to support your quarterback to get to where you want to go. And I'm not saying Tennessee fans don't understand that, but something that Jesse Simonton, who's a national columnist for us here at On 3, you turn on your TV, he's probably on the Paul Feinbaum show, it feels like, every other day. He's been pounding this alarm for a long time. We're going to do our best to try and add to that sentiment right now. The reason for excitement with Tennessee is Nico, of course, but I think you look at that defense, they feel real good about that defense in Knoxville. I'll tell you a story. We go out to Knoxville to watch spring practice. It's early. It's rainy. It's one of the last spring practices they have on the schedule. And we're out there on the field watching practice. I'm talking to somebody on staff, and I want to ask about Nico. I want to talk about Nico. How's he doing? How's he looking? And he would answer those kind of questions, but he would be very quick to say, we feel good about the defensive line. We feel good about the defense. Hey, they're making strides on that side of the ball. James Pierce, he might be like a top 10 pick this time next year. He was the number one player for us here at On 3 in the top 100 going into next season. That's not as a recruit, though we were very high on him as a recruit. I think higher than anybody else in the industry on James Pierce as a recruit. I'm talking about as a player based on his college resume. Number one in the country. That means something. Tim Banks, since 2022, this team has made massive strides on that side of the football. Last year, they were number 2 in yards per play in the SEC. Think about that stat for a second. Think about 2022 and how you felt as a Tennessee fan. You're like, man, if we could have something on defense, we could have something on the back end, we might have a chance. So you got to replace a lot in the secondary this upcoming season, but there's a lot of pieces outside of that defensively to be really fired up. And that's kind of what I want to hone in on here. This upcoming season for Tennessee, there's high expectations, but this is not going to be a 2022 rerun in terms of how this team is built. Yes, you got a talented quarterback, but you look at who they have on defense. I just mentioned that's drastically different. On top of that, look at who they have in terms of the playmakers. Like, is there Jalen Hyatt walking through that door as a Blitnikoff Award kind of receiver? No. But I think similar to what I guess Brad Pitt said in Moneyball, you can't recreate him, but you can in the aggregate. Look at who they have to help aggregate a Jalen Hyatt this upcoming season at Tennessee. Squirrel White, who I think has been tracked on the catapult of like 22 plus miles per hour during his time in Knoxville. That's speeding in a lot of school zones. So shout out Squirrel White. Brew McCoy getting back healthy. He's a presence for you. Chris Brazzell, transfer from Tulane. Saw him during spring practice. Catch radius. He's a dude for you. Dante Thornton, another you're comfortable, another you're more healthy. So I'm looking at all these pieces, and I probably even missed somebody there as I'm talking about these wide receivers. There's a lot of guys here that, in my opinion, are what we call matchup winners. Meaning when you give me one-on-one coverage, I'm betting on my guy more often than I'm betting on your guy. And in Josh Heupel's offense, with how they space it out and how much they spread out the defense and how quickly they go, you get a lot of those one-on-one matchups. There's a lot of islands that they're going to put these defenders on. So when that happens, you just need a quarterback to get you the football. And Joe Milton got a bad rap, and this is something we have also been preaching for a while on this show. Bad rap, sure. I don't think he got quite as much help as Nico's going to get this upcoming season at the wide receiver position. It was Squirrel White and who else last year for Tennessee? Many more options, many more answers that are going to help, I think, provide a lot more offensive production and a lot more support for Nico Iamaleava. Now, the offensive line, is it a concern in Knoxville? Yeah, but I think Josh Heupel and his system, they go so fast and they run so many zone schemes to where you're not asking that offensive line to just be war daddies every single play. Like, I don't need IHOP level kind of pancakes every single play from Tennessee's offensive line. I need you to get on your man, hold your block for 1 to 2 Mississippis, balls out, guys past you, we're good to go. Now, to be fair, the excitement around Nico is warranted. Like, physically, I was trying to think about how to say this, but I think Nico is physically the best piece of clay that Josh Heupel has had since getting to Tennessee. And that's not throwing shade at Hendon Hooker, because he's the best quarterback he's had at Tennessee. It's pretty obvious. Joe Milton, tons of physical giftings, but I think Nico, with his size at 6'6", right around 210 pounds, his live arm, and the big thing for me here, his mobility. Hendon Hooker was extremely successful in that 2022 season because of how he was able to ad-lib, get out of pressure, create something with his legs in the red zone. Like, you didn't have that as much last year with Joe Milton. You have it with Nico, and you saw it in the bowl game. So all the excitement around Nico is warranted. We talked to Josh Heupel multiple times now, and he was pretty transparent. He's like, yeah, he's as good a guy, as talented a guy as I've ever coached. He was saying that when he was a freshman last year. So we'll see how this whole thing comes together. The Nico excitement, totally warranted. It should be warranted. It should be allowed. But the excitement around Tennessee, I think, should stretch past the quarterback position. A lot of pieces that weren't there in 2022, I think are there in 2024. If you gave that 2022 team a healthy Hendon Hooker, which is the massive variable, gave them a defense, gave them a 12-team playoff, I don't know who wants to see them in that 12-team dance. And if it's anything at all offensively like that unit was in 2022, I don't think anybody will want to see this team in a 12-team playoff either. Got to get there. First 4 games are crucial, setting the tone, getting Nico comfortable. But I don't think it's irresponsible to assume they can make some real noise if and when they arrive in that playoff field. The Hard Count is brought to you by our friends and the good people doing the Lord's work over at Rowback. Now, Rowback, if you've watched any of this content for any length of time or you follow me on the socials, you probably tuned in a time or two to the question and answer that I do on Friday during the season. Fridays are off days, chance for us to kind of get ready for the games. What I'll do, post it on my story. Hey, let's talk some ball. If you've watched those stories, I am always wearing a Rowback hoodie or a Rowback hat or a Rowback shirt, Rowback long sleeve. Reason for that is comfortable. Most comfortable clothing I own. I'm not just saying that. I'm saying that because I want y'all to be able to get dialed in with us on Rowback. And if you're not more of a hoodie person or you're like, JD, I need something nice to wear for game day, polos, my guy, polos. Breathable, moisture-wicking fabric, stretches just right, fits you just right, also durable. It's not this cardboard polo nonsense you see some of the frat boys wear. No, breathable, lasts you the whole game day, lasts you the entire of your barbecue, whatever you need it for. Rowback, consistent, durable, the way to roll. Also, just food for thought here, summer is here. Summer's more or less here. We'll say summer is here because spring ball's over. Bathing suits from Rowback, shorts from Rowback, hats from Rowback, block out the sun. It's the way to roll. Now, last thing I'll say, Rowback also, they're in the NIL game, baby. Leading the charge in the NIL game. Signed partnerships with guys like Kate Klubnik, Jalen Milroe. They're leading the charge there. So get dialed in with Rowback. Now, if you hear me say nothing else during this ad read, hear me right here. I'm going to save us all some money. Use code JD at checkout. Save yourself a smooth 20% off your first purchase. Code JD, no periods in between that, just J and D. 20% off your first purchase. Save you some money at rowback.com. That's again, RHOBACK.com. Little dog logo. They're taking care of y'all, taking care of us, taking care of the college football community as a whole. So we appreciate Rowback making it happen. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.